What is up, faithful? Man, feels good to talk about Brandon Aiyuk today. And a little easier to talk about things when things are looking right for the 49ers, obviously. I'll be right back to talk Brandon Aiyuk, 49ers injuries, all that good stuff right after this. What is up, faithful? Make sure you guys drop your guys' questions in the comment section. I will be getting to those questions throughout the show, whether it's regarding Brandon Aiyuk, the 49ers roster. We will be talking about them. I will be getting to them questions. I've gotten some answers for you. It's all about 49ers faithful being excited today. So I did get a text message earlier and it got me really excited because the 49ers are moving really, really fast with Brandon Aiyuk. And that's always great to hear when your team is moving in the right direction with their players, especially when it's a star player who has had contract situation going on this entire time. But make sure you guys drop your questions. I'd rather answer questions than just purely speak to y'all because I want to know what y'all want to know about the situation. Because obviously, I'm gonna tell some stuff that I heard today. But what are you guys wanting to hear? So make sure you drop your question. I will get to them today. Now, what I did hear about Brandon Aiyuk's situation, the Niners have agreed on a 3-year structure for Brandon Aiyuk. They have a 3-year structure with Brandon Aiyuk. The issue is with Brandon Aiyuk in this situation, from what I'm hearing, and the reason why it's not completely done yet is because the 49ers, they have this structure, which is the guarantees, the cash flows over those first 3 years. But what Brandon Aiyuk wants is a 4th year, from what I'm hearing. He wants a 4th year. And that kind of makes things a little bit more complicated because now if you give a 4th year, it would be a 5-year contract, right? Because now you're going to have that 5th year option and then the contract extension from here on out, which if it's the Niners only want 3 years, then they could get out after 2 years of the deal. He wants it to be a 4-year contract. The reason is you get guaranteed money into that 3rd year is what he's pushing for, is guaranteed money to that 3rd year. So he's not essentially just signing a 2-year contract. When you sign 3-year contracts, for example, let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk, right? Or not Brandon, Deebo Samuel, my apologies. Let's talk about Deebo Samuel's contract. When they signed Deebo Samuel's contract, they were clearly wanting to get a 3-year contract done for a reason. They have an out this year. They obviously signed his contract 2 years ago. They have an out after this year coming up. That is a big reason the 49ers want to do a 3-year structure with Brandon Aiyuk, and he does not want to do it necessarily. That's kind of what's holding up guaranteed money at signing is a little bit what's holding up from what I've been told. But we do know that the 49ers do have a contract that is established with Brandon Aiyuk. We do know that is the main thing. It is a lot easier. And I know Quint Tomcat says sounds like a big hurdle. In my opinion, I don't think it sounds like a big hurdle because both sides want to get a contract done. We did hear John Lynch earlier today talk about they feel the sense of urgency to get him into the building. They know he's in shape. I said yesterday I was on Ashley Ariana's personal channel yesterday. We were talking a little bit about it, and she was asking me like, "Oh, do I think Brandon Aiyuk needs to be in the building? What happens with Brandon Aiyuk? Like, is he out of shape?" And I had told her, I was like, "Well, they know he's in shape. They've seen him run. They've seen him work out at the facility. They've seen him do that." And she was like, "Wait, when?" And I spoke a little too much on that show. They had seen him running. They've already seen him doing things at a fast pace. And I didn't know he was going to decide to run on the side field today. I did not know that, but I have known that he's been working out at the team facility and doing things at the team facility to stay in shape. And sure enough, it was reported that he was running at the team facility in a red t-shirt cutoff. So that's something that's also a great sign moving forward with the Brandon Aiyuk situation. But going here, let's go ahead and get to some questions. Ask your questions away. I will get to them. Easier to answer questions than me just talk, because if you ask a question, there's a possibility I overspeak because I'm in a great mood today. So I'm just letting you on. I'm just trying to help y'all out. I mean, shout out to my guy who gave me the opportunity and said, "Yeah, go ahead and go for it. What I gave you, you can speak on today on your show." He said, "What I gave you, you can speak on." He did not say there's nothing I cannot speak on. So ask your questions away. So shout out to Zach Greer. Do you think Brock Purdy will take the next step? If yes, how so? I mean, when you look at Brock Purdy, a lot of things he does right and does like wrong, I guess we would say. Like, it's more so like, I'm a firm believer that arm strength does matter to a certain extent, right? Like, you don't need to have the strongest arm, absolutely like a bazooka, like Josh Allen, right, to make every throw. But it does matter when in certain situations, right? Cover 2, cover 4, when now you have that safety sitting over the top and they're able to kind of cheat underneath with their corners, and stuff like that. So you have that help over the top. It just makes your windows tighter. It makes it a lot harder for you to complete certain throws. And I think that's where he struggles with. And I want to see him get better there. I think he could take that next step, um, by being a little bit more risky, right? Like, we've seen him make throws, we've seen him do things, um, that you normally wouldn't see a quarterback do, and he gets away with it. I want to see him continue doing that. Is that something that he has, right? Is it something that's going to come back to bite him in the ass? That's something, but at ways he could take the next step. Use your legs more. Um, Throw the ball downfield more, even if it's incomplete. At times, your offense isn't going to be as efficient, but if you're letting it sling deep, things like that can happen. So, I think that's where he could get better, is pushing the ball downfield, using his legs a little bit more. I think he could take that next step that way. Now, there's going to be limitations no matter what with Brock, but he's shown that his IQ is good enough to get him through situations. So that's where it's like, okay, we know he can continue this process. Shout out to Gold Rush Niners. You think it was a slip by Debo on Up and Adams show? I have not seen what he said. What did Gold Rush? Can you drop what he said about BA? Because you're saying he's talking about predicting the B. I have not seen it. So what I did is, what I've been doing is, I've been working a lot of overtime. I work from home, so I've been not been really being on social media outside of posting those tweets that I did about Brandon Aiyuk's contract. Outside of that, kind of shut my phone down, shut off Twitter, and get back to work, kind of thing. So please, if you can, drop it in the chat what he said, so I could comment on it. Quint Tomcat Grant Khan doesn't seem to be as optimistic. Is that because he doesn't know the information that you do? I don't know. I mean, obviously Grant, he's at the facility and everything like that. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion on it. So I don't know if his optimism is, or his lack of optimism, right, is because he feels that it's not going to get done, or based off of what Kyle Shanahan has said, right? Because Kyle Shanahan's like, oh, we don't really know. We also heard John Lynch say, I don't know the reason. Obviously, you also got to remember, this is a situation where a general manager isn't going to speak on things. He's going to say, I don't know what the holdup is. He knows what the holdup is. One, that 4th year of the contract that Brandon Aiyuk wants. 2, guarantee money at signing. Now, again, those first 3 years are done. But when you add that 4th year, do the Niners want to take away guaranteed at signing? Do they want to give him extra average per year? All that's pretty much situated, but it's kind of like, all right, let's play with everything so we know how to fit things. Oh, you want this much guaranteed at signing? Well, let's give you this much average per year, give you that 4th year, and it's kind of a ghost year because you have that out after year 2 or 3. And I think that's a situation that I've been monitoring, that I know Brandon Aiyuk wants. So that's something that also plays a factor. But the thing is the Niners have not been this adamant in terms of the contract negotiations with Brandon Aiyuk for as long as I've been tracking this and getting information on this. So that, to me, shows a willingness from the 49ers organization to get a contract done. Again, I said on with Jesse Naylor on his show 2 weeks ago, it didn't sit right with Jed York, and a lot of the old timers who played for the Niners were at the practice facility on Dwight Clark Day, and the receivers struggled to create separation. Did Jed York get involved? I haven't asked that question. I really don't know the answer to that one. Cannot tell you if Jed York is involved. Gold Rush Niner says, is Guerrero looking like a redshirt year if Schrader doesn't make the 53 this year? I've been saying since the Niners drafted Isaac Guerrero that he's probably your kick returner. Because the new kick return rule, if you look at it, you want someone who's explosive as a runner, someone who could see the hole. A lot of big returns are going to be had in the NFL this year because one player makes a mistake. He over pursues or he gets pushed out and a lane's created. And the way the new kickoff rule set up, I think it benefits Isaac Guerrero to be on the roster as long as he's fully healthy. I think Isaac Guerrero's on the roster. I don't see how they don't, especially when you draft him in the 3rd round. Kenny goes on and says, what up with CMC's that he's an ex-teammate? Was he kidding? CMC doesn't seem like a joker. You also got to realize a lot of these guys don't know what's going on, right? Like, for example, Christian McCaffrey may not be asking BA, hey, how's your contract going? How's it looking for you? A lot of these guys, hey, I'm not going to ask you that because that's your wallet. That's your pocket. I'm not going to get involved. I truly believe CMC had a slip up. He's maybe feel like, damn, like looking at all the media, you got to remember Mike Garofalo, Ian Rappaport, they all said it was a done deal for Brandon Aiyuk to the Steelers weeks ago. They said, oh, we don't see how he comes back to the Niners. And now they're reporting it as, oh, the Niners are in negotiations with him. Something I reported a week ago. Don't know where those guys are getting their information from. Maybe I can help them out. Maybe I don't like to toot my own horn, but maybe I should help those guys out a little bit. So shout out to my guy, 49er Faithful, 365, Nick in the house. Man, I miss you too, my man. Hopefully we're at a game together. We catch up and we could have a drink together. Shout out to you, my man. Went to the Niner game with you. Wait, was it 2 years ago now, Nick? Man, that was a great time. A phenomenal time. Meeting Nick is one of the best guys out there. Broke bread with him and everything like that. We had breakfast together. We went to the Niner game and everything like that. Great dude. Shout out to you, my man. Somewhere along the line that he thinks BA will be on the team this year, so they don't have to worry about that scenario. Yeah, because the team has seen the changes over the few days. They've seen BA smiling, BA happy. He's finally being negotiated with. BA's at the practice facility. BA running today on the side field. The players noticed that. The players aren't. He's not just going to say, I think BA. And shout out to Dave Doan. He gave the actual quote. He says, I think BA is going to be a part of this team, so we don't have to worry about that for him being on the roster. She may have asked him about winning the Super Bowl, as Gold Rush Niners also pointed out. They noticed him running on the side field. They noticed when he's in the locker room working out, and none of the media is seeing, right? They noticed this shit. So that's what he might be talking about. I'm not sure if he's been told about a contract, but that's what he's talking about. Do you think Kittle will finally get Kelsey type production this season in the last push with the core roster? Maybe it's just because Aiyuk is out, but he's been on a roll in training camp. I think every training camp we see BA go on a roll, George Kittle go on a roll, where he goes like on a stretch of 3 days where he's getting 10 targets and he's looking like the man. I don't know. So I've been saying this for since last year, midseason. Kyle, throw the damn ball. You have too many playmakers in the passing game. You have George Kittle, who's probably one of the best receivers as a tight end in the NFL. You could argue it. You got Brandon Aiyuk, who will be back on the roster from what I'm hearing. Great route runner. You drafted Ricky Pearsall. Probably will play in the slot. You have Debo. So you have the weapons to throw the ball more, right? The Niners, I believe, were ranked 17th in the NFL in terms of throwing the ball before the third quarter, or up to the third quarter, before the fourth quarter. Reason why I mention this is the Niners were a team that were always in the lead, right? They were always winning. But within the third quarter, you still got to make sure you put a team away. That's still, you got to throw the ball. Now, what happens is the 49ers tend not to throw the ball. And I think that hurts the 49ers. I think you should put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands, which means George Kittle's targets go up, which means Brandon Aiyuk's targets go up. Christian McCaffrey will probably get less in the passing game, more in the receiving game. It benefits the 49ers with the way their roster is built offensively. I think they should use Kittle that way. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. I don't know if they're planning on using him as a right tackle again. Shout out to you, Nick. I appreciate you, my man. Just showing support, my man. Miss you, my guy. Hopefully we can catch up this year. Hopefully we catch a game, man. I'm definitely always going to be looking to catch a game with Nick. Nick's the man. So shout out to you, Nick. We get to continue getting to these questions. Shout out to Rob in the Bay. Hope you have a great weekend as well. Stay hydrated. Stay safe. Is Cam Latu going to make the roster? I think he's making the roster. Or is he not going to be on this team? Sorry. I think he's on this team because he's a third rounder. That's my opinion. I think roster politics is at play. That's just what I have. I think. Don't know. Don't really ask about Cam Latu. Doesn't move the needle for me. I don't think he's good. Never thought he was good. Even with my draft grade, I had him as a 6th rounder last year. They overdrafted him. So that's where I'm at right now. Garofalo said the 49ers feel like they've already caved. I found that framing to be interesting. I'll put it this way. I will know and I will talk about it when the deal is announced, whether the 49ers caved or not. Because I know certain things that I don't want to get into those little details because it's specifics of the contract that I know BA wants, right? I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, like the 4th year guaranteed monies. I will know when it's announced, when those numbers are announced, right? Not like the average per year, total guarantees. We won't know if there's guaranteed money in that 3rd year, in that 4th year. That's something that we will know who caved and who decided, all right, it's time to get serious and just sign a contract and get something done. Marco Shanahan calls games like he is on the 90s Broncos, right? Terrell Davis running the ball so many times. Yeah, I agree, man. I don't know. We're in 2024 and he decides that 11 personnel isn't the personnel that he wants to go to. You would rather be in the 22. Wild. Every other team that's left the 49ers has implemented a lot of 11 personnel and are running the same stuff that he's running out of. And 11 personnel are throwing the ball. I think it's crazy. Yeah, I'll get to it when I know what you're saying. Like, don't leave us hanging in the sense of we want to know which side caved. I won't know who caved until I see all the details of the contract, right? Like, even though I'm being told that a contract is almost done, even though I'm being told what's happening with the 49ers, I won't know if the 49ers are completely caving and giving him everything he wants, right? Because there's some things I know exactly that he wants for that contract, but I won't know until all the details are out. The guaranteed money in every year, how many years the contract is. Obviously, he wants 4 years. The Niners want 3 years. That's something that we will know if he caved, if the Niners caved. So that's just one detail. The other stuff is like the guaranteed money and stuff like that I know specifics on, that I was asked just to not share those little specifics. I was asked I could talk about the contract. I could talk about BA. I was just told don't talk about the little specifics that are going on. Could you see Green making the starting lineup opposite of Ward this season at some point? No, I think you want to have Demo outside, and Green inside, unless it's a situation like the Super Bowl, where I know I kind of want to talk about that, like, right? Like we did here, Janama Lenore. I don't know if you guys saw, but Demo was on the podcast with Richard Sherman podcast. He talked about how he went to Steve Wilkes and said, I need to play in the slot this game. Made the most sense because when you look at, even when you watch the film, not even like the numbers, the freaking Chiefs didn't have an outside receiver. Everything was in the slot. So that made sense. So I think you let Green play in the slot. And technically, I see a nickelback role as a starter in today's NFL. The reason is I believe that a nickel is a starter because you're in nickel or dime 70% of the time, maybe a little bit more on some defenses. You're rarely in your base package, which is your 3 linebacker set. So you got to have a good nickel. I think Green can play outside or inside. I think it's better to let him play inside because I think Lenore should be one of your starting outside corners. I think he is that good of a corner who could match up inside and outside, but it also gives Green the ability to go inside, outside if they're in a man look or let's say they're in a zone look, right? They're in zone, but they want to disguise it as man. You could have both of those corners. For example, if Green's lined up inside and they motion his guy out wide, you could have Green go out wide with him, and the assignments just changed. I think it puts a lot of responsibility on those guys, but I freaking love putting responsibility on guys because they're playmakers. Put the responsibility on them. And this is a great segment or lead way to Sorensen thoughts. My thoughts on Sorensen. thought the preseason game didn't really show much from Sorensen. You could tell he's trying, like, he's being very methodical with what he called. Um, I think him calling zone and man for certain situations to give these young guys reps, right? Malik Mustafa had a rep where they were in more of a man look, and he bit on the run. Tight end kind of goes out, and luckily the quarterback throws him out of bounds. But that's something he learned from. 2 reps later, they're in a similar look. He doesn't bite. He's in great coverage, forces an incompletion. Same thing with Renardo Green. There's a couple times where he was in a zone coverage, and he looked like he didn't know what was going on. A couple of plays later, maybe a quarter later, they were in the same exact coverage in zone, and he knew what he was doing, and he was there to make a hard throw. So those are things that I think right now you're not going to see Sorensen have anything crazy, but you're going to start seeing that implemented once the starters are in. Never made it a wise man. That's a really good song. Couldn't make it as a poor man stealing. All right, you guys are just gonna keep singing. All right, I respect it. Y'all really want me to sing? I'm not a good singer. Trust me. Let's talk a little about Trent Williams, y'all. Y'all want to talk about Trent Williams? Y'all want to talk about a little about Trent? Well, I think that's the more concerning one, in my opinion, over the BA and Trent situation as it sits right now. Right? We hear Kyle Shanahan talk about they're talking to his agent and stuff like that. But it kind of concerns me, man, because, like, is it just Trent not wanting to be at training camp? No, I'm serious. Hey, like, imagine if I sing that song for you guys. Like, y'all want a karaoke session? I know you don't. But with Trent's situation, right? Like, he's a player who you don't really need to have those training camp reps. You don't need that situation because he's such a great player. He knows how to stay in shape for the regular season, we hope. And I think that kind of guy just needs a week in advance to get reps against Nick Bosa. I don't think he needs 3 weeks like some other players do. It could be big. I did see that he had a baby. But also, too, if the Niners aren't willing to offer what he wants, right? Let's say he wants 2 years of guaranteed money rather than just this one. And the Niners like, nah, we can't because you've already talked to us about retiring in years past. You talked to us about not wanting to finish your career being hurt, right? And he's been injured in the past couple of years. He's had to sit out a couple of games. So you have Trent, who is the best left tackle in the NFL. Or at least you could argue it. I mean, I don't think he is. His last couple of games were not like crazy impressive. I thought that you could see a little decline in Trent's game. And even with his decline, he's still one of the best left tackles in the NFL, which is crazy, right? But I think you could easily piss him off where he's like, you know what? I just had a baby. I've almost lost my life to the game of football because the Commanders organization prior to their new regime was incompetent. They didn't care, right? Like that also plays a factor. But at the end of the day, I think they will get him done. But it's just a little more concerning because even though they're talking to his agent, are they really? That's where I would be like, are you really? It sounds great to the media because you're being asked this and fans want to know about Trent. But have you really? Or are you willing just to call him in a couple of days and like, yo, Trent, what was that number you wanted? Okay, cool. All right. The contract's on it. Let's go. Boom, you're done. I will never forgive you, T, for calling me Jose on Ryan's show. Just because I'm brown. No, I'm just messing with you, bro. I thought it was funny. Because Jose's on. I don't know if you guys know Jose used to be on with Grant. I've gotten called that multiple times on Grant's show. So I thought it was hella funny when he called me Jose. Just another Mexican. Yo, Kenny says, is Greenlaw gonna be here by November? You can't rush him back. I don't know if by November, like when I look at, obviously we see him doing like some pad work where you can see that Achilles like lifting and using his strength there. But I think he should be as caution as careful as possible. I think the Niners have his replacement on the roster already. I think D Winters, Jalen Graham, I think they're able to replace him after next year. After this year, I don't see how the Niners could afford Dre Greenlaw. So essentially, you're showcasing your abilities for the rest of the NFL. I know he would love to be back within the first 4 weeks, but we're probably looking at 5 to 6 weeks that he's out. Maybe even 8, right? Like there's a lot of recovery time, little hurdles that he has to get over, start sprinting full speed. Then you got to start cutting hard cuts, not just simple cuts, right? Like now it's completely different when you're doing a simple cut versus you're doing a very hard cut. I have not. I'm gonna get to that later, Quint. I'll get to your question right now. That's a great question. Motivate me to play again? Trent telling them absolutely, right? I'm contemplating retirement. Pay me what I want, and we could definitely get some situation where if you don't, I'm done. I'm a Hall of Famer. I don't need a Super Bowl ring to be in the Hall of Fame. So that's kind of something that you got to play with, right? And you got to explore. You got to explore those options. I think this is his last year too. I think this is Trent's last year. But again, with a player that great, he could go year to year, right? And I think that's where the Niners are worried. If we give you 2 years of guaranteed money that you want, and I'm not saying he wants 2 years of guaranteed money, but I'm just putting into his perspective. If he does want 2 years of guaranteed money, all he has to do is like, all right, yo, I'm out after this season. We had a great run. Thank you guys for that money. Appreciate y'all, but I'm gonna hang up the cleats. And if that happens, you give him guaranteed money that you can't get back because if it's guaranteed at signing, you can't get it back. So that's a big factor too, right? Did I weigh in on Jerry Rice post? What the fuck was that, man? One, I thought it was Jerry. I think Jerry's gotten this a little bit the same thing that I might have heard, right? Like it's pretty close over the last couple of days. It's been pretty close. They're just kind of trying to iron out certain details. BA might have said something like, "Hey, and this is just me speculating off of what Jerry said. I don't know what Jerry heard or what Jerry's comment was about, but Jerry pretty much was like, this is Judgment Day. You're either going to sign or you're going to be traded, blah, blah, blah." And it was like a post of him and BA shaking hands. He might have been told, hey, BA's contract might be done very soon. Jerry was wrong. But also could him be just speculating. So I don't really buy into when former players say stuff like that. Because like they have absolute connections to the organization. Sometimes you're just excited. Maybe Jerry is waiting for him to be signed to get him on Goat Fuel, right? Like get him a sponsorship with Goat Fuel. Maybe he like, hey, you're one of the better receivers that the Niners have ever had. You're on that trajectory. Let's get you rocking Goat Fuel, right? He did that with Trey Lance. He gave Trey Lance that sponsorship with Goat Fuel. He may be trying to do the same thing with Jerry Rice. Jerry's for sure definitely should be on that documentary after that tweet, right? Annoying thing about this is that it could be done in 5 minutes or 2 weeks. Funny saga. And I've been saying that, like I've said that a couple times, right? Like before, like these things aren't like a snap of a finger. Like just because you have the negotiation and the numbers right, there's little language that plays a factor. What day does certain guaranteed money kick in? Because if it's the 4th day of the league year, you could technically cut them, and that's not necessarily guaranteed money. A lot of things. I said a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I said it was on a Monday. I was on a show, and I said I think the contract will be done within 2 weeks at most. That first week, this is the second week. I think he'll be done by the end of the weekend. That's me speculating with what I've been given, like the information that I've been given. The moment I know if it's being signed soon, I will put it out there. I promise. Now I've been working too much overtime, so I kind of want to step away from my phone a little bit. I work from home on the computer all day, every day. Kind of want to step away for a little bit, hang out with my wife, and enjoy like my weekend. So if I get text and I miss the text, my fault. So that's probably will be me. But I'm trying to be the first one to announce it. But again, it all depends on when I get that information too. So Honestly, when he said and posted that, I didn't even think of anything was gonna happen still to that point. Shout out to the Rams fan for super chatting. I appreciate you, Roger. What up, Marco? Any chance you could do an NFC preview prior to I am? Let's go ahead and I'll have that for you next week for sure. Next week, me and Rohan will preview the NFC. And we'll do an NFC West, and then we'll do an entire NFC, right? Because like I think y'all have a legit roster. Sorry I haven't gone to that again. So what I do for work, I help out with resources and stuff like that for those in need. Been helping out with Hurricane. I'm in Florida, so helping out with extra stuff like that. So that's what I do for my regular job, my day job. Do other stuff as well. But for me, that's kind of where I've been at right now. But Roger, I'll get you on that one. I promise you. Um, since I made the promise, now I'm for sure gonna do it. Jerry being wrong is what scares me though. Felt like it's been close forever. Yet the rumored AAV keeps creeping up. I'm not listening to the AAV, right? Because like it could also be the 49ers trying to get that out there because they want him from right. The way you look at deals, BA side, I want guaranteed money, and this is me, no information, just me knowing contracts how they work, right? BA wants guaranteed money at signing. He wants that guaranteed at signing to be high. The Niners don't, because that means the cap goes up because you have to spread that over the couple of years. Well, an organization, if you look at the contract that the Lions signed for Amon-Ra, that contract's shitty for him. Let's be real. Like, let's keep being honest. Like I'm glad he got paid what he wanted. Obviously, he was happy enough to sign it. But when you look at it, it's like a 2-year deal at most, this year or next year, because they get out on that contract because there's not much guaranteed money at signing. Now you're kind of screwed. Yeah, it looks like a cool contract because you're getting paid $30 million a year. But if anything happens injury wise, God forbid, or anything like that, but injury happens or his play declines drastically for some odd reason, they could cut him, they could trade him, and they don't eat any of that dead cap. So that's a big factor too. So is it the Niners trying to push that number out where they can try to get BA to take less guaranteed at signing? Also plays a factor too. So what other questions do we have here? I think if Trent doesn't come back and BA does, you should throw the ball more. What I mean by that is your offensive line is going to struggle. Teams are going to force you to throw the ball. They're going to try to sack the box. You're not going to be able to run it as effectively to the left as they have been with Trent. You're going to have to throw the ball. And I think that's kind of more so what I'm saying. Again, BA signs, he signs whatever. What do you mean by this, CJ? Robbing the Bay. Rob the Bay, or is Aiyuk robbing the Bay? Or is it Rob in the Bay? I'm trying to think about that name. How many wins do you see this season? Do you think who makes the playoffs? The Niners? Absolutely. Wins? I thought when the schedule first came out, I want to say I had them at 12, maybe 11, 12 or 11. It's because like obviously there's teams that they're playing. It's like a toss up, stuff like that. Divisional games are going to be hard. I think you got two really good teams in your division. You got the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams in terms of roster wise. Harris, who's saying this? Because that's a lie. But going back to like what Rob was saying, but I'm very curious, Harris, can you drop who said that? How far in the playoffs do you see them going? Do they have Trent? Do they have BA? Do they stay healthy? If they stay healthy, I think you have the chance. You have the best roster on paper if their starters are healthy. But looking at their roster, we have so many injuries, right? Aaron Banks broke his fingers, just got surgery. John Feliciano injured. A lot of things are I think you're one injury away on the defensive line, whether it's Nick, Javon, or Floyd. It hits you hard, really hard. I think because you don't have the edge rushers to get after the quarterback. In my opinion, I think your backup edge rushers are kind of mid. So that plays a big factor too. Do you lose one of those guys? If you lose one of those guys, you're kind of better make a big trade. So I think they'll make a big push into the playoffs. You also got to realize a lot of these teams in the NFC have gotten better, right? The Niners, they've gotten better in the secondary. O-line didn't really get better, for being honest, because right now you don't have Trent. No, if Trent's there, I think they got better because of Dominic Puni. I think Dominic Puni is a really good guard. So I think you do get better there. Your receivers, you could say they got better. Running backs got better because Jordan Mason's taking that next step. So you've gotten better, but not drastically. And I think that plays a big factor too. CJ Gray says, I'm indifferent to BA signing if he signs, cool. But if not, cool. Because of the cap space implications and the high number BA is demanding. And I'm concerned paying too many top money to someone that has his uses. Okay. But when you look at those contract numbers, right? CJ, like one thing that I've kind of been trying to explain to people is when we look at these contracts that are signed by big time players, right? For example, will it make sense if we take a look at a big contract? What's the receiver that signed that you guys want to look at their contract, and we'll break it down on like how the implications of a new contract actually helps that team in this year, right? Like, who signed a contract recently that's like comparable to Brandon Aiyuk? Obviously, let's just say, you know what we'll do? We'll take a look at Devontae Adams' contract. Oh, shout out to you, Robert. Let's look at Devontae Adams' contract, right? Devontae Adams contract. We'll go to Spot Rack because a little bit easier to look at when the numbers are all next to each other. Let me go ahead and take this banner off. Apologies. Usually with me, it's rolling us a lot faster because like one of us is doing one thing, one of us is doing the other. But let me go ahead and take this off. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Are you guys able to see this contract? Cool. If you guys are, drop a comment. It's the first time I see someone say comment. Yes, we'll go over this contract. Two Zoom. Yep. All right. Cool. Shout out to you, Papa J. Steve-O. You might have said Zoom's on, but I don't know. So let's take a look at this contract. Right, the average per year, right, was 28. Now it's going to be very similar to possibly what Debo get or BA gets. Obviously, the guarantee that signing for BA probably will be a little bit higher than this because Debo did get, I want to say 40 guaranteed at signing. I could be mistaken, like 40, 41. So when you're looking at this number, the guaranteed at signing, it's prorated over a year, over like 5 years, 5 to 6 years sometimes. So that's going to be prorated over those years. Now they've obviously restructured Devontae Adams' contract, right? So that's where you have those restructured prorations. But the average per year on his yearly contract is 28 per year. A lot of people truly believe that when a player signs that contract, they're guaranteed to get 28 per year on the cap hit. When you take a look at the cap numbers, Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the NFL, right? His first year of that extension, 12.1 cap hit. The following year, 14 million on a cap hit. The third year is $25 million cap hit. What usually happens when you see these kind of contracts is in that third or fourth year, depending on how many years the guaranteed money is in. So, for example, BA would want something similar to this, right? Guaranteed money along the 3 years. He wants more guaranteed those years because now it's a 3-year contract, not a 2. I'll take a look at Debo's right now as well to show you guys the difference. There's a potential out in 2025 that saves the team money when his cap numbers go up to 44. And those it goes up to 44 to compensate for those years that it was lower. So I hope that makes sense on when you do sign Brandon Aiyuk, the cap numbers aren't gonna be extremely high. They actually benefit the 49ers to keep some of their roster intact next year in 2026. So it makes sense to extend Brandon Aiyuk. JD Durham says, how are they going to overcome all these injuries, tougher schedule, and the deficiency on the D-line, O-line, and D-line? Yeah, I think injuries are playing a huge factor. Offensive line has taken a big hit. I think D-line has depth. I just think they're a little top-heavy at the edge position. So I wouldn't mind seeing them trade for a backup edge rusher or claiming someone off the waiver wire once everyone's cut at edge. Steve-O says, I can never read spreadsheets. Spreadsheets too small, but he's smart, I hear. Who? I'm not that smart, man. Thanks for that's Marco 8089er says, Marco, you think the holdup is Jed? He doesn't want to pay, doesn't want to have the money to pay up front with Trent, CMC asking for more money, and Purdy coming up next year. Nah, I think Jed actually wants to get the contract done, right? Like, you want to have fans in your seats, you want to have an elite player, you want to have BA signed. He saw that he wants to win a Super Bowl. He saw at training camp the receiver struggling to create separation. I think Jed may have gotten involved and said, hey, we need to get him done. We're not trading him. Running back 2, based off of I'm gonna put it this way, Eddie. This is a hell of a question. One of the best questions that I've been struggling with, right? Because Jordan Mason, in my opinion, is a hell of a runner. His issue, in my opinion, has always been pass protection and not understanding when a blitz is coming and stuff like that. So when I look at the running back 2, running back 3 situation, I think it's still Elijah Mitchell when healthy, because Elijah is a player who can pass protect. He knows where his assignment is, and I think Jordan Mason isn't. I thought the first play of the game was a pass. I thought Jordan Mason went the wrong way. Again, that's something he struggled with. So, I mean, I personally think it's Jordan Mason, but again, I also think it may be Mitchell because of how Kyle loves him and he could pass protect and he knows the assignments. I think that plays a huge factor, but I gotta see both healthy. He can get him killed, and I think he went the wrong way on the first play of the game, and I think no one really talked about that, but I do think he went the wrong way on the first play of the game. CJ Gray said 49ers are rich franchise. Jed York would pay anything, but the cap with all these top-loaded contracts is a decision to be made. And like I showed, I think it helps you when the contract actually benefits your team. So, for example, let's take a look at Deebo Samuel's contract. If Spot Rack ever works today, there it goes. So with Deebo's contract, right, he signed his extension in 2022. So when you look at his contract, his yearly was 23.5. He had pretty much all his guarantees money in his first couple of years. So when those money start skyrocketing, they've obviously have the void year to help reduce some of those cap numbers. That's why it was so low his first couple of years, right? 6 and 8. Well, 6 and 8, when we look at the yearly cash, right? Take a look at the cash breakdown. He got $25 million that year. Why was his cap number so low? Because he had the signing bonus and he had those, right? You got to play with that stuff plays a huge factor when it comes to these contracts, right? Let's take a look at the cap breakdown again. That first year, people were worried that when he signs the contract, they were going to go up drastically. 6 and 8. You'll probably see more so the 8 number on the Brandon Aiyuk contract to start. You could possibly see it at 6. It all just depends on how that's played out. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to cap, but I'm trying to learn it as much as I possibly can. Again, year 2, he had 11 million. So right, it jumps up and down, up and down. So that's where you won't see a Brandon Aiyuk contract affecting to sign any other players drastically. I know that's what's talked about because that's what the narrative is. But if the 49ers truly want, they could put money guaranteed up front for a lot of these players, and Jed would just have to open up that checkbook. So Jed has the potential to keep a lot of these guys. Now it'll be when you start having a restructure and you're getting rid of like the restructure of Armstead for a couple of years. I thought that was bad because it's an old guy who's aging. You don't want to restructure those guys. You don't want to get those guys where now those guys are going to be hitting on cap wise in a few years when they're aging and no longer as good as they were. Even though I thought Armstead was I thought he was great in the playoffs. Who do you think is the most impactful rookie or rookies will be? Or do you not see any of the rookies having an impact at any point? I think the biggest impact we'll see is whoever's returning kicks, and I think that maybe Isaac Guerrero. You may see the Niners getting a couple of big returns from him. Now, I don't want to say he's going to be the most impactful. I think it's probably going to be Renardo Green. At some point, Renardo Green will probably be our most impactful rookie. Actually, no, scratch that. We have a starting right guard who's a rookie. It has to be Dominic Puny. Scratch all that, everything I just said. Dominic Puny. Yeah, brain fart. Dominic Puny. Easy answer. Roger Morales. Will you guys have all the starters on the O-line back by week 3? I hope so. Aaron Banks should be back by then. Jake Brendel should be healthy by week 1. Dominic Puny's there. Colton McKivitz. It's all about if Trent's there. But that's going to be a fun game because y'all have a good roster. Y'all really do. How do you afford them all these contracts? I'll get to yours right now, Stevo. So you put money up front. You get these guys signing bonuses or that kind of stuff, and then you put money down the line as well. And that's like the Niners' specialty is 2-year contracts, essentially. Why has nobody mentioned the guaranteed money? That's the big deal. Is everyone's contract? $60 million is my guess. Are you talking $60 million fully or $60 million guaranteed at signing? There's a difference on those two. $60 million guaranteed at signing is a little bit different. So, for example, Debo total guaranteed money was 58. His guaranteed at signing was 41. Right, so that's a big factor. Like, that's pretty big right there, right? What else? What else do we have? Oh, we play the Saints obviously on Sunday night. What others? Rookies that I thought. Let's talk a little about film. Obviously, I watch film. Fully guaranteed. So, if it's fully guaranteed, the guaranteed at signing money, it won't be 60. It won't be 60 fully guaranteed at signing. Maybe 60 total. But I don't see 60 guaranteed at signing at all because that puts them like number 2 right behind Jefferson, and I don't think they're going to give that up. I don't think the Niners would. That would show if it's 60 guaranteed at signing, the Niners caved. And I might have spoke too much, but the Niners would have caved. So that says a lot. I have a bunch of stoners in here. Shout out to y'all stoners. Hey, stoners, drop a 420. Drop a 420 a super chat for 420. Drop a 420 super chat. Show some love. 420 super chat. Not $420, but $4.20. You know what I'm saying? You think Mustafa is going to be a starter week 1? No. I think Mustafa will not be a starter week 1. I think you also got to like one thing I put into a lot of weight is the Niners don't like to start starters early in the season because typically that's when they'll make their bigger mistakes. And playing against Aaron Rodgers, if he's a rookie, sees a rookie back there at safety, he is going to confuse them and he is going to take advantage of that. I think we'll see George Odom if Talanoa Hufanga is not healthy, which great sign on his front. He's starting to be able to run and do more cuts. So that's great for him. I think we'll see Odom and Jair Brown as your starting safeties. And then if Hufanga's out. But if Hufanga's out, it'll be Huff and Jair Brown. So hopefully it's Hufanga, one of my favorite Niners to watch. Yo, Marco, Kyle was talking about him having a backup plan for all positions. In your opinion, who takes over for Juice if he goes down? For Juice, I think they've kind of showed it last week in the film. It was Braden Willis a little bit. I think you could also use one of the other running backs. But I think it would more so be Braden Willis because he gives you that passing element to the Niners. Who you going with? The female content creator. An OnlyFans content creator? That's how I read that. Hey, yo, chill out, Steve-O. It's a family-friendly show, man. but I think like if Juice go down, it'll be Braden Willis. You could also use one of your other tight ends like Saubert, Tongus. He was getting reps there, but I think would probably go to Braden Willis first, because he has like that. He has the ability to be like that style of player. I don't think he's going with Ashley because Ashley would have told me she's going to the first game of the year because we record on a weekly basis. So she would have told me if she was going, and that she would have asked me if I was going to the game. That's why me and my wife were going. Any chance Trent or Brendan sign on Sunday for the homecoming? I think they could possibly be signed. I think you could have BA signed before Sunday. Have him on the sideline, right? Like that'd be cool for the fans to see. Obviously, he won't play, but you have him on the sideline. That'd be kind of cool. You think they keep him 4 tight ends? I do think they're keeping 4 tight ends. You got to have a blocking tight end. I think Cam Latu sneaks onto the roster because of roster politics. If they do decide to cut one of them, it should be him. The way I'm looking at the depth chart. I think Tongus or not Tongus, Saubert is like a lock to make the roster as your blocking tight end. Braden Willis is kind of like your hybrid. He could back up Juice. He could play tight end. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think Cam Latu, like, dude, when they drafted, I wish I could go back. I want to ask Jesse if he still has that show up. But when Cam Latu was drafted, I've reacted very bad. Like I had a 6th round grade on him, and during the live draft, I reacted and was like, "Holy crap! Like, are you serious right now? Like that's a bad pick." Draft night. So far, I've been right, which sucks because I hate being right when it comes to being wrong, like having the team be wrong on draft picks. Go, man. Tickets should be cheap. If you're in the Bay, I mean, they should be cheaper than what they normally are. Papa J, she probably has not watched it, but next time we're live, we'll probably be live on early in the week next week. And you're watching, you gotta ask, bro. I don't think she's gonna watch it anytime soon. I did show her like the what we're talking about, like the Grant being in the suit and the what do you call it? I was laughing about. I think our secondary is probably our deepest room on the roster. All right, give me some hard. Can y'all give me some harder questions? And I'm trying to ask some hard questions. Let's answer some harder questions. I still think it's 4 running backs if you consider Juice shoe game. Go. Like you want to see my shoe game? My favorite shoes in my closet are probably my Yeezys, 350s, my Dunks, my Mochas. Those are probably my top 3 that I, in terms of comfortability. Cause like I'm a big comfortability guy. I don't have Crocs either, Steve-O. I have a shoe called Kane. So when I was at the Stanford, when I was covering Stanford, credentialed and everything, a lot of the players would wear Canes. And they kind of look like, a lot of people think they're Crocs. It's kind of funny. They're like, oh, like, oh, you're wearing, where'd you get those Crocs from? It's like, no, they're not Crocs. Actually, they're actually regular shoes. They're called Kane. They're an athletic recovery shoe. One of my favorite shoes because they're super comfortable. I got to get a new pair because I would overwear them. They look like Crocs, but they're not. They're a recovery shoe, comfortable shoes. I have Crocs too, but I only wear them around the house. Like I don't like to wear slippers or anything like that. But so what you're saying is that if Juice goes down, then Willis becomes the full-time starting back. Yeah, fullback. Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely. I do not own a pair of Jordans. I don't think. I'm trying to think right now. No, I don't. But I don't know. Like I never really liked Jordans for the most part. Just not my style. Cause like you have to wear like you can't. I like to wear shorts. Not many Jordans you could like wear shorts with and look good, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion on the shoes. Reebok was my jam as a kid, but they only do running low tops now. Yeah, Who's your sleeper to make the roster on offense and defense? This is what I'm talking about when it comes to great questions. Looking at the 49ers depth in their roster, a sleeper on the offensive side of the ball. I think the offense is kind of set. Like, I don't really think there's any sleepers. Chris Conley, I think, should make the roster. I don't know if that's a sleeper though. But you also maybe like be that guy like, hey, we're gonna be put on the practice squad. We'll pull you up when we need you, almost like every other week or whatever. But man, if I had to choose, oh, on offense, that's a hard question because offense, I feel like the O line first and second team is set. Like, I don't think there's gonna be any like, oh snap, like he made the roster. I don't think Jarrett Kingston makes the roster. I don't think Drake Nugent makes the roster. I think that's kind of a surprise seeing a draft pick not make the roster. But I mean, when you're a 6th or 7th round pick, you're kind of like a priority free agent anyways. I would probably go Chris Conley, but like, I don't think that's a surprise. Defensive wise, I like this one defensive wise. I think there's a couple of guys defensively on the D line. I think Evan Anderson could make the roster. Shaquille Brown, like those two guys. And then they just signed Nick Williams. Typically, I don't see guys being signed this late being guys that'll make the roster. But I think if the Niners are going for like that older vet to be just a run stuffer, now he is 34, but we're talking like big dude inside, 6'4", 310. Niners haven't had that kind of guy to stop the run. So I think you could see that, but like, I think you should go after Evan Anderson or Shaquille Brown. I would prefer those two guys over Nick Williams because they're younger. I think Evan Anderson's like 320 at like 6'1", 6'2". So it's like he's a bowling ball. Shaquille Brown, 6'3", 290, maybe 300 at most. Those are the guys I would say defensively along the D-line, interior D-line. I can never wear anything that looks like wooden Dutch shoes. Just cut Latu and admit the mistake. Don't lose a better player. I would admit the mistake and be like, hey, look, if a team claims you, great. If a team doesn't, we're more than happy to bring you on the practice squad, but you're not an NFL player. I don't think he's an NFL player. I think they whiffed on that one. Do you think the NFL is wasting time with the kickoff rule, or do you believe that players like Debo can take advantage of it and make a difference in games? I watched the kickoff rule, and I like it because you are going to see more explosive plays. And at the end of the day, what the NFL is trying to sell is entertainment, right? Like, they're trying to see fans be excited. Younger fans are going to see those kind of plays. They're going to get excited. Those are the kind of things that brings excitement to fans. So I think that's something we will see. I think Debo should not be a returner on a every down basis, but he probably will be getting a lot of run there. And I think he can break off a couple of big time plays in the return game. And I think they can make I think the returner now can make a difference. Before, it was very hard to make a difference. Now it's almost every other return. It may be back to the 50. Like, that's how much, like, and it may be something the NFL looks into and saying, like, you know what, maybe we got to change some things where instead of making them like 5 yards apart, making them 10 so they have a little bit more running ability. I don't know, but Roger with the question for the Rams. Any question Roger asks about the Rams, shout out to him. I will answer because he's one of the most respectful Rams fans that I've seen in any of the chats that we constantly do. Marco, Jimmy G has to be our starter for the whole season. How many games we winning? I haven't looked at. I'll be honest with you, Roger. I have not looked at you guys' schedule. I think that plays a big factor. You guys do have a good running game. You guys have good receivers, a great offensive coach in Sean McVay. You guys' defense is going to be solid. I think you guys still may be able to make the playoffs, but not be as good. But it'll be tight. It'll be like maybe if he has to start every game, maybe like 9. I mean, you guys have a good running game. Run the ball, put things over the middle for him. I don't think he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, but I don't think he's great. I never thought he was top 20, but you could be able to win games with him. So yeah, I'd say you guys be close to making the playoffs, if not barely missing the playoffs by a game. But I think Matthew Stafford's playing. Don't worry about it, man. It's training camp. Anytime a player gets barely injured, they're pulling them immediately. Conley deserves to make the roster, but if they do, they risking Cowing on the practice squad or are they keeping 6? I think they'll keep 6. I think they'll keep 6. I think they'll keep obviously BA, Debo, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Conley, because he's pretty much Brandon Aiyuk's backup, and then Cowing. But if they don't decide to keep Cowing, I mean, it's a 4th round pick that they, again, I thought they reached a little bit on him. Thought they could have taken him a little bit later, or a player similar to him a little bit later. Thought that one was an interesting one. Can we please go a few years without changing the rules? It's getting ridiculous. I agree, but they're gonna constantly try to change things in order for fan entertainment. Like, for example, the next rule, 100% guaranteed, the next rule that's gonna be changed is the rule for no more chain gang, no more chains. Right? They'll be there in case of emergency, but it's gonna be a tracker most likely a tracker in the football, and that'll end up being what's happening. Good question. Ricky's with a shoulder injury. Kyle Shanahan said that he hopes he's back by week 1. That's not a good sign when your coach says he hopes you're back by week 1, especially when you're a rookie. You get behind the 8 ball real fast. Man, let's talk. You know what? Let's talk a little bit about drafting. Right? I wanted the Niners to draft Adonai Mitchell at 31. I was live with Jesse. Now I had a couple of guys at 31 that I really, really liked, and I said Adonai Mitchell, if he's there, I can't pass. Kingsley Suamataia, who's going to be starting for the Chiefs, is also one of them. Those are my top 2 guys there, right? Adonai Mitchell's been lighting it up against other teams in training camp when they're going against joint practice. Looks the part, looks really good. Ricky's been injured. Sucks, but kind of hard to compare him, right? Because like he's obviously not playing. Niners really haven't showcased him. But as of right now, I think the Niners missed on Ricky. I didn't think he was the best receiver on the board. They also missed on getting a starting offensive lineman in at offensive tackle, right? Because let's say Trent does decide to retire next year. We're back to square one and trying to replace Trent versus Kingsley could have learned from Trent. Could have been your starter if Trent decides to sit out the first couple of weeks. He's starting for the Super Bowl champs. That's wild to me. 2 players I thought the Niners should have taken. I will constantly monitor their career trajectory because I think that was my ghost draft for the 49ers. I did put out my ghost draft on Twitter. If you guys don't know what that looked like, I'll go ahead and pull that up real quick. You guys probably don't, to be honest with you, because that wasn't even the question, but I'm talking about the NFL draft, and that's my favorite part about NFL is the draft. Ghost. (2024) draft. So I personally would have drafted. Let me pull it up. Why is it? I hate the new update on Twitter, man. Twitter sucks now, or X, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's terrible. Like, I used to be able to easily find certain tweets of mine that I knew for sure that I had out there, and I can't find them. Like, so I had Donnie Mitchell. Those are the 2 ones. I'm not going to keep looking. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Eddie G says, "What's your QB? What's your opinion on backup QB room? How confident are you? How high is the confident level if they have to play? I'm never confident in any backup quarterback. Because any backup, the moment you lose a starting quarterback or a quarterback who could potentially be a top quarterback in the league, you're not gonna be a Super Bowl winner. You rarely see it. Like, I think the outlier is Nick Foles. I think that was just an extreme outlier. Anytime your starting quarterback goes down, your backups are in, probably not going to win, being honest. Shout out to Rogers again with another super chat coming in. If you come down to SoFi for the Rams game, Marco, I got you on a beer or drink, man. I appreciate that, man. It's actually my birthday that day. The day the Niners play in SoFi, it's actually my birthday, but me and my wife are actually trying to plan a trip to Seattle. And I think like, you know what? Wouldn't mind going to Seattle. I heard Seattle has a great 49er fan base to watch games at the bar, and I've been wanting to go to Seattle for some time. So if I don't go, I'll find a way out there to the LA area sometime, and I will definitely hit your line, Roger. Because are you in like the OC? Are you in the OC area? But that's definitely something I'm down. Yo, shout out to my guy Jesse. What is up, man? Jesse, when's this contract about to be signed, man? When's this contract? When's BA signing? Do we know? Do you know yet? Should I tell you? Have I told you? I don't know. Shout out to Jesse though. Last Second Source. Make sure you guys subscribe to Jesse's channel. We're on there every Thursday, either his channel or my channel. Joey V. Is there any surprise players that you think are in their last year with the 49ers? Yes, Charvarius Ward is possibly one of them. Talanoa Hufanga is probably going to be another due to contract-wise. Dre Greenlaw could possibly be one of them. Aaron Banks. There's a handful of them, but it depends on how you see. If you think it's a surprise, that's my opinion. Like those are the guys I don't see coming back. Huff's going to be too expensive. Banks probably going to be too expensive, and you have Spencer Burford on his last year of his contract. Cheaper to do that route and try to keep another guy like Demo. So that kind of where I lean. CJ says, I've watched Ricky and I agree with you. I didn't think he was even a second round pick, honestly. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't across the NFL scouting community. And that's like legit NFL scouts that I'm talking about. Well, Marco, if you come here to Seattle, hit me up. I got you for that beer. Bro, all right. Jason or Roger? Which side do I go to? Like, see, that's kind of like crazy. Hey, Jason, is there any good? Let me know if there's any good bars to watch games. Oh, dang. We got Jesse saying no later than Monday a contract's coming. That's crazy. That's insane. Wow. If they made Dobbs the starter, then Purdy would be a fine backup. Why would they make Purdy or why would they make Dobbs the starter? It's like I should probably do a call-in show too, because some of you guys' questions have been pretty interesting, and some of them are like, wait, hold on, let's have a real conversation about it. Like, Eric, let's have a conversation about your Dobbs being the starter right now. Like, are you serious or are you joking about the Pastronaut? He said, I don't sleep on the Pastronaut, bro. I heard good things about his preseason performance. We're talking about preseason? Talking about preseason? Talking about practice? It ain't even a game. Nah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Are you serious about it? You might. I hope you're joking. I hope like your sarcasm is extremely great. Where I'm like gonna freak out right now. You're gonna see me have a heart attack live on air because Josh Dobbs did not look good when he was in Arizona or Minnesota, in my opinion. I think he's a quarterback that could give you a little bit more element if Brock goes down than Brandon Allen. But I see those two quarterbacks as Brandon Allen getting you in out of a game. So, for example, if Brock goes down mid-game, Brandon Allen would come in and get you out of that game versus Josh Dobbs. If Purdy goes down for the year, I think Dobbs' rushing element and ability to create out of structure benefits him in the offense because you're going to get a little bit extra from him. So I think he would be your long-term starter if they lost Brock for the year. But, geez, I do not want to see either of those guys start or touch the field because they're both not good. Look up Seattle Niner Faithful. I think there is like 5 49er bars that are taken over for games in the greater Seattle. Oh, that's dope. I know where I'll be if I'm there. If I go that week. If not, Roger's getting me a beer in LA area. I have a lot of people wanting to get me beers. Y'all trying to get me drunk. I don't like drinking like that though. Now we talking. I wouldn't mind the Niners signing him right now, to be honest with you. Like, just giving you that, like, because you're in a Super Bowl win now year. You have $30 million in cap space. You're going to create cap space with extending Brandon Aiyuk, and you are kind of just saving ass just in case Brock Purdy goes down, which now, knock on wood, God forbid that anything happens to him and he goes down or anything like that. But he would probably give you the best chance in this offense. Now, we saw him in the Arthur Smith offense, where it's a run heavy offense, play action heavy. Kyle could definitely go run first, play action heavy quite too often, right? Tannehill would give you the opportunity, and he has a little bit more mobility. Don't know how he is after his injuries and stuff like that, but he has mobility. Eric D. That's funny. I was literally thinking that what Ryan Tannehill is doing these days. Yeah, I think they should definitely call Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill led the league in yards per attempt and passer rating before. Jesse, was that 2019? Was that the 2019 season when Jimmy Garoppolo was being called a top 5 quarterback that year? I'm pretty sure it was 2019. Because a lot of quarterbacks get called elite if they have like the yards per attempt and passer rating. We've seen Brock be called that because of those stats. I think those stats are very misleading. We saw Jimmy get called that with those stats at one point. Stats are very so. The thing is with statistics is you can skew them and you can make them sound good or bad for either way, right? We've seen Tua, right? His film is not an elite quarterback. If you ever look at Tom Brady's yards per attempt, usually pretty lower because elite quarterbacks, what they're doing is teams are trying to take away stuff deeper. Quarterback having to go through their progressions, checking the ball down. Sometimes an elite quarterback knows how to check the ball down. Sometimes they know, and it messes with your yards per attempt. So some of those elite quarterbacks aren't going to have 10 yards per attempt and stuff like that. So that's kind of when I look at it, I'm like, hold up, does this stat match the film? And if it doesn't, why are we talking about it, right? Like that's kind of how I look at it. I agree with you on the yards per attempt and stuff like that. That Tua deal. Let's look at that. I've never looked at the Tua deal. I just know he got paid a lot, and after he got paid, he went to training camp. Was like, "Show me the money." It was like, I don't want to hear that from my starting quarterback. That's for sure. Like if Brock Purdy was like after he got extended, and like the Niners were like, "Hey, we want you to go talk to the fans here at open training camp," and he walked over and was like, "Show me the money." I'd be like, "Yo, hold up. I want that trend that's going around where like, show me the money, or where's my money, whatever it's going. I want nobody to cheer for him if he does that. Like, hot joke's on you. Like, because that is freaking wild. That's what you're worried about. Now, we all knew you were going to get paid, and your biggest thing was first thing to tell the fans were show me the money instead of let's go win a Super Bowl. That to me, I was like, oh my God, his cap numbers are insane. Holy shit. Let's share this. Oh my God. Holy shit. Remember when I was talking to you guys about having like the guaranteed money affecting contracts? Guaranteed at signing. See that 93 right there? That's huge with the 40 pretty good chunk of a signing bonus. That signing bonus is 42. 42 times 8 times 5 is in that range 0.4. So you're getting that 42 from there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Cap number, first year of the deal, 9.5. Then it goes up to 60, 63, and then they have the out. Normally, you'll see a typical Niner contract. It'll be low, gets pretty decent here, and then they have cap and dead cap numbers that they would be able to eat and get out of the contract here, and these numbers would be very ballooned. So that's what you would probably see with a Brock contract. Damn, who is his agent? Shout out to, is that the same Ryan Williams that is doing? Damn. Wow, I've been talking about this. Oh, I thought y'all could see the screen this whole time. Let's go back and look at that contract. Holy shit. 60 million right here. These two. So this one number, right? For example, when Brock gets his contract, right? These are the most important numbers of this contract. The signing bonus and the guaranteed money at signing. You get those numbers, the base salary, the signing bonus that is stretched over. The signing bonus is stretched over those years. Oh, I get why he. Oh my God, he got a $25 million roster bonus in 2025, it's just in 2025, which is skyrocketing things. Damn, his agents. Damn. I hope Brock don't sign a contract like that. Because holy shit, that's a good that is a win. Like that is a massive W for the player. That is crazy. What up? What up? 49ers girl. I believe it's Keisha. Brock ain't that kind of guy. We don't know, man. Like Brock was fine. It was a fine starter. Good to pay 35, 40, but when you go 60 million, that's going to crush us in the cap space. I think with Brock, this is a conversation we'll have after the season, right? Because if Brock, let's say Brock has a decline, then we could have the conversation of is 35 or 40 more suited for him, or is he worth the 60? And it's not even going to be 60. You're going to see 65, 70 because Dak Prescott's about to get 60 something. Like we just saw freaking Tua get 53 average per year. So it's like if he has like that another step to his game, we'll see. I don't want to get to that conversation just yet, right? Like Jesse said, the same agent as Love. Is Jordan Love's contract that crazy too in terms of cap numbers? Let me take a look at this. No, it's not because they didn't do the. And let's take a look at it, right? This is something we've been talking a little bit about. So Jesse, I'm glad you mentioned this is the same agent. Okay, let's throw this up on the screen. Can you guys see these numbers? Both of these numbers are bigger than what Tua had. So when you look at those two numbers on the contract wise, Tua's numbers, I'm gonna have them side by side so I can read them off. So Tua's numbers for the guaranteed money at signing was 93. So we take a look at the 108. That's bigger, right? We take a look at Tua's signing bonus was 42. Jordan Love's getting a $75 million signing bonus. Now, this is where teams that know how to work the cap are damn good, right? Because this is something where I could see the Niners doing for Brock's contract, and it doesn't hurt the team. I know people keep saying, oh, it's going to hurt the team. It's going to hurt the team. It's going to hurt the team. Oh, my God, it's going to hurt. No, it's not. Look at these void years, right? He will never see this 34 million, right? This cap hit will never be seen. It's all inflated here, right? I was talking to you guys earlier about void years. It gets inflated here. Now they're stretching signing bonus across those 5 years. Tua's contract had a roster bonus of 25 million in there, what also shoots your cap numbers up. Damn, those numbers for Love are great, especially for a young roster. Yeah, that's definitely better for the Packers than it is for the Dolphins. And that's where you can remember I was telling you guys the difference in terms of that kind of money and how it's spread out earlier for BA's contract and how it shouldn't affect signing other players. Jordan Love's contract is not going to affect them signing other players. As long as you know how to negotiate a contract right, you spread it out over those years. You have a couple of void years in there that the player isn't going to see. You're probably going to and now it does affect this. And let's do this. It does affect them in a way if he is cut, if Jordan Love is cut or traded. Let's say he, for some reason, has a terrible next couple of years, 3 years in 2027. Let's say they do decide to release him. They would take on a $51 million dead cap, and they would lose $9 million in cap space. That's where it does hurt them because of those void numbers. Outside of that, if they post cuts, which would make more sense, post June 1st, eat 36 1 year in 2027, 15 in 2028. But those numbers aren't bad. So that's where make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Share this with your mom, your friend, your grandma, your aunt, uncle, cousin. Tell them about me. Don't forget it. Jesse goes on and says, we are seeing that with Armstead, and that's where the future void numbers suck. And that's why if you're going to extend or actually technically restructure a contract, it better be a player that you want around until that restructure is over. And that's where it kind of hurts people. Hello, I'm flipping over in my bed. What's this channel about? This channel is about the team that beats the Los Angeles Rams every year, the team that owns the Rams. Nah, it's all seriousness. Shout out to you, man, for tuning in. Talking about Brandon Aiyuk situation. For those who have just tuned in, I'm gonna go over what I talked about a little bit earlier, and then I'm gonna head out for the day. Appreciate y'all for tuning in today. But I've been told that the Brandon Aiyuk situation is pretty much or pretty close to an end result on him being extended to the 49ers, him getting a contract extension. Now, I have been told that they are pretty set on the average per year, the average numbers per year, and the guaranteed money that they're trying to work on. So you have a contract baseline of over the first 3 years. The Niners want a 3-year contract, so that's why the Niners feel like it's done. And that's where I feel like that report from Adam Schefter came out where like, well, the Niners offered him a pretty dang good contract and he just doesn't want to sign it yet. Well, that's because Brandon Aiyuk wants a contract that is 4 years. He wants guaranteed money over the 3 years. Now, if it's a 3-year contract, you have only guaranteed money over 2 years, and he would probably have an out on that contract. So that's where we're stuck. Now, this not like we're going to be stuck for another couple of weeks. Holy shit. It's pretty close, right? Like when you have those numbers, BA wants a 4th year. He wants it to be a 5-year contract where it's this year on his 5th year plus the 4-year contract, right? I think they could get it done. Now, the biggest thing is, like I was saying earlier, is you could tell who will cave in terms of 49ers caving or Brandon Aiyuk caving in terms of years. I'll know based off of the guaranteed numbers that I've been told and stuff like that. I think you're more so looking at a contract for Brandon Aiyuk around 28 average per year. And this is just me hypothetical. No numbers that were given to me that I'm sharing. 28 average per year. The max would be 30. But if the max is 30 at 30 million per year, you're going to have a lower guaranteed at signing. I think we will see Brandon Aiyuk around 28 and around that 48 to 53 guaranteed at signing, which would be a pretty good contract for the 49ers and for Brandon Aiyuk. Both parties win as long as there's guaranteed money how Brandon wants and as long as the 49ers are able to keep that cap space numbers down. I don't think it'll affect the Niners in terms of signing players next year. I think it actually helps them sign players next year because you won't see those numbers start skyrocketing until 2026, 2027. And then that's when his numbers will fully be kicked in on cap numbers. Like I showed you guys with the Tua and more so Jordan Love contract, and I showed you guys with Devontae Adams contract, which I compared it to. It'll more so be that the first couple of years lower, after that higher. I showed you guys with the Debo contract. First couple of years lower, 30 year and beyond higher. So it actually helps you sign players. Eric D says, the irony is the market will tell you what the rest of the league thinks. We spent 4 years arguing about Jimmy G, and look what he became. Look what he got when he became a free agent. Not a 4-year max deal, that's for sure. I mean, he's a backup quarterback now, right? He was the highest paid quarterback at one point. Now he's the backup quarterback. Brandon Aiyuk was already offered multiple contracts by the New England Patriots at 32.5. The Steelers offered him, I believe, 30. Could be mistaken. I believe it was 30. So I mean, hey, like he knows his worth. Like, hey, like I'm giving you guys a discount. I could have went and played for the Patriots, which it's a shittier organization, or shouldn't say shitty organization. They've just dominated for most of my life, which is pretty shitty. Obviously, they had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but they're a rebuilding team. So I think that's where we're at right now. Shout out to 808 Niner. Appreciate you for dropping a super chat. Have a beer on me. You the man, Marco, for answering all these questions from the chat. Yeah, man, I'm just here to have fun and answer questions, man. Talk about that. But that's where we're at. We're with my God, I cannot speak. Where we are at with the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Sorry, I was reading the Purdy comment right there. But shout out you to 808 Niner. Have a beer on you. Appreciate that. Any final questions or anything like that before I head out for the day? Marco, what was that in regards to the idea the 49ers could let Purdy hit free agency? They will not let Purdy hit free agency. Purdy will be in his 4th year next year on that 4th year. I mean, technically, you could consider it like that for that his last year in this contract. The 49ers will have to obviously pay him, let him play. They could also do, since he's in his 3rd year, restructure of the contract where you give him more money that year, but not an extension, which could get tricky, right? Jesse, I'll give you a hug, bro. Or actually, where do you want me to sign? I'll only sign one of your iconic 49er hats, though, because you have like a bunch of iconic Niner hats that everyone loves. So I have to sign one of those hats if you want it. But like, you're my icon, you're my idol, bro. So let's not go there. Obviously, if you don't, most of you guys probably are subscribed to Jesse's channel, Last Second Sports. Shout out to Jesse. But I think do I think it's a mistake paying Brock, especially if he struggles again in the playoffs? No, I don't mean, because the way you could pay a quarterback, right? And it's all like I was explaining to you, like the way the contract is worded, the way it's over the first couple of years, it could be low numbers, and then you have a bigger number in year 3. And if it's a 4-year contract, it's probably going to have an out after that 2nd year. So you're probably getting still valuable quarterback play for a low cost. So I don't think it's a mistake. But I think if the Niners are not sold on him, what you could do, renegotiate that 4th year where he's getting a major pay increase. And then in year 5 or after for the 4th year, you franchise tag him. You could do that as well. Like if he has a great year, you just franchise tag him and get him extended so no other teams could actually negotiate with them. That's probably the best way you could do it if they're not sold on him after this year. But I think that's going to be a very hard situation, because if he has a good year, you just go to the table, but all right, we're going to give you these numbers. This is what your market's going to command. He could also take less money. Who knows? So definitely a conversation for another day, because Brock is going into his 3rd year, man. And we should be excited about that rather than worry about his contract. I think it's premature to worry about his contract right now because we don't know what he's going to look like this year. That's kind of been my take on this thing the whole time with Brock Purdy's contract, is since we don't know what he's going to look like this year, not really worried about a contract for him, because he could have had a great, I don't know if you guys remember Jeremy Linsanity, and he went on the Linsanity run, and people thought he was a great basketball player. We've seen quarterbacks go on those kind of runs. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously went on that run and got paid. So that's where I'm at. Like, let's let it play out. Like, we know he's a really good quarterback. We know he's in that. Obviously, last year he showed he could be in that top 12 quarterback range, possibly even higher. So just let it play out, and we'll get there when we get there. And that's when those conversations will be fun to be had, right? Because now we could talk about, we have 2 full seasons of Brock Purdy. Now we could evaluate it as a actual evaluation, in my opinion. So I don't want to get there too early. But thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button to Clutch Gene Sports. Make sure you guys are tuned in. I'll be going live tomorrow morning with Rohan around 11 a.m. on my channel, talking about what we expect to happen in the preseason game with the Saints. Obviously, all questions are welcome. Make sure you guys subscribe to that channel so we could talk about preseason, ask us about players. We may go over some film from the preseason game 1, just to kind of show you guys like what we want to see a little bit more from what maybe is D Winners. Nick Zakelj looked really good at center. So maybe we'll go over some film too, depending on what Rohan wants to do. But definitely talking 49ers Saints preseason game. Today was mainly Brandon Aiyuk, a little bit of Trent Williams, and answering a lot of questions today. So thank you to the chat for keeping it lively today. Appreciate every single one of you guys. I hope you all have a great rest of your guys' Friday afternoon or evening. Take your guys' wife to dinner. Buy her flowers. Make sure you give your kids a hug and a kiss. Tuck them in. Tell them you love them. Tell your wife you love her. Have a great rest of your night. Stay safe. As always, much love, faithful.